Welcome back, my friends. Nearly saying to the show that never ends. And it's not Emerson, Lake and Palmer you're with me and us, but you are with the CRM Converse show. It is in the early morning or around the early morning in around summer. In the near of Seattle. And
the village is called Sammamish.
Sammamish. Thank you very much. There will be, after 1.5 years, someday that I write it down and can spell it properly. Seattle, or in the area where Microsoft is having a lot of work to do and is taking care of. And then we go to Chicago. And then there is the Rhine-Main area in Germany. And Thomas, our guest today is Thomas Verly, an important chap in the EagleBurgmann organization, having the role in sales operation and is a vice president at least. And he will introduce himself and will help me to clear what role he actively is playing. And we were very excited to hear that he has a lot of practical things today brought together, which he is willing to share with us. Welcome, Thomas Verly, and Happy New Year to you and the audience as well, as it's the second convo we have now in the 2022 series. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I assume that's me, or is that Thomas Wiebernight?
It's the Thomas. Okay. Yeah,
I don't have anything to say.
I just want to make sure I play according to the rules.
Yeah, well, Thomas W or Thomas V. So this is not a big help at that end, yeah?
Well, as a guest, you may keep your given name. You are Thomas, and our fellow up there will be Weeb.
I'm the other Thomas.
Yeah.
Good. No problem. Happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation as well. So as you introduced, my name is Thomas Verly. I'm located in Houston, Texas, in the United States. That is correct. As you notice, it is a cool day in Houston. I am wearing a sweater. But okay, we need some winter here as well. My current role, I am the Vice President for Sales and Marketing at EagleBurgmann. And maybe before I talk a little bit about myself, let me quickly talk about EagleBurgmann. Mm-hmm. EagleBurgmann is a global company. We are actually a manufacturer of equipment, mechanical seals, static seals, that go in rotating or static equipment. So that sounds very technical. It really is not. So imagine that you have a fluid or a gas that needs to go from left to right, whether that is a chocolate factory, a beer brewery, an oil pipeline, a nuclear plant, a swimming pool, anywhere you have a fluid or a gas, there is a pump or a compressor that needs to move that fluid left to right or bottom to top. There's a propeller in there. There's a moving part. And you don't want that fluid to go into your moving part, or the moving part would be broken. We need to seal that. That is what we manufacture. So we engineer that, we manufacture that, we service that. That's what EagleBurgmann does. We are around 800 million in revenue worldwide. We belong to the Freudenberg Group, which is a very big family-owned German corporation, beautiful corporation. So that is our owner. We are about 6,000 employees at EagleBurgmann. We are present in 86 countries, 20 manufacturing sites. So a nice medium-sized global company. So that is a little bit about EagleBurgmann. About myself. So again, you might have heard my accent is not a Texan accent. It's also not an Eastern New York accent, as many people ask me. It is actually a Belgian accent. So I was born and raised in Belgium, over in Europe. I studied there, went to college there. I started my career there in IT, believe it or not. I did warehouse automation and warehouse management projects for 2 years. And then the Belgian company decided to build a big manufacturing plant in the United States, in North Carolina. So I moved in 2005. I was in charge of building the whole IT infrastructure, but also IT applications, including SAP. Then we were purchased by Mohawk Industries in 2006, I believe that was. And I was transferred to Dallas in Texas. Believe it or not, I thought I would have to take a horse to go to work, but that was not the case. I learned that Dallas was actually a quiet metropolitan city. I enjoyed it very much. It helped that I met my future wife there. She is from Houston. She is American. And so in 2012, we decided to move to Houston. So I had to quit the Belgian company, which was a sad thing to do. And so that's why I started looking for a job in Houston, and I found Freudenberg. I found EagleBurgmann. So since 2012, I have been with EagleBurgmann. Until 2016, I was in charge of IT for the Americas, so North, Central, and South America. But I told the company that in IT, I could only manage costs. I could not manage profit or revenue. And I really wanted to build the company. And I had a good track record, and they allowed me to make the move to sales. So beginning of 2017, I started working in sales operations, and I worked myself up the ranks. And in April 2021, last year, I was promoted to Vice President Sales and Marketing, where I am now in charge of everything to do with sales and marketing from a corporate perspective. I love what I do. We have a very challenging, a very exciting 2022 ahead of us, and I can't wait to get off this call and continue working. No, just kidding. Happy to do it. Happy to do it.
But what you just showed with the enthusiasm in your words and in your body language is that calling it Vice President Sales and Marketing, that there is a certain emphasis on bridging the challenging gap we observe in a lot of years or a lot of times between, it's like talking English and going to the Americas and to Great Britain, two countries divided by a common language. You share goals, you share targets, you work for the same customers, and in some organizations, naturally not EagleBurgmann, it's like you are talking to a different universe. So that is a fantastic role you have, because you can help them to play as a team. How do you manage that?
Wow. How much time do we have for this answer?
As much as you have.
Yeah.
We
minimum
are
of 1 hour.
It is simply, we go for the flow. And I have the impression that this is something which is touching you and is moving you and makes you tick, and is one of the creative parts in your job, which you love to talk about.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think it is fair to say that sales and marketing are two different beasts, absolutely. And they are super connected. They are somewhat sequential. I mean, you cannot have sales without marketing, and you cannot have marketing if there was no sales. So yes, they are very connected, very integrated, but the DNA of the people, and that's where it starts, the DNA of the people is very different. In my opinion, in marketing, you have the super creative animals, at the same time, very analytical and data-driven animals. And then you have sales, and then the good salespeople are the people with the people skills. They are the people with the strong gut feeling, the strong elbow feeling. Both are right. I mean, none of them are wrong. They are specific people that you have in specific functions for a specific purpose. And I think that's where the first difference comes, why it's sometimes difficult to work together, because you talk to two completely different people, although the disciplines are very intertwined. And so how can you bridge that? Well, the way we try to do it at EagleBurgmann is it starts from the strategy. We try to make sure we have our company strategy. As a matter of fact, I just have it right here, our company strategy for the next 3 years. And we are all aligned on the same strategy. And if you start from this common strategy, no matter what DNA you have in you, if you have the strategy, you have your objectives from that strategy, you can already align these groups of people. So I think it is critical, and that is something that we really emphasize a lot. And also the power of repetition. They say that you have to repeat things 7 times before it sticks with people. So we repeat it 8 times at EagleBurgmann. We constantly emphasize our strategy in all the different departments, not just marketing and sales. So start from the strategy, define objectives supporting this strategy, and bring these people with different DNA together that way. And there are then, of course, multiple more operational initiatives we take throughout the year, where we make sure that sales and marketing sit together. And of course, they both report to me. So I make sure that happens, where these people sit in the same room. And of course, there's a lot of complaints that sales does not this and marketing does not that. But in the end, we all go for the same objective, for the same strategy. I make sure that where communication doesn't happen, it does happen. And honestly speaking, if I look back now at EagleBurgmann, we are not that far off. I think we work well together. We know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and we'll take it from there.
It's very cool. It sounds like somehow a bit like an ideal world. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I want to frame it in a certain direction. It's simply that I have deep respect for that happening, such as I am also a trainer, and I know how to get people in one room and do a workshop together. And you have to catch these universe, what you call the specific DNA. And you have some types which are ideally going in sales. And you have the creative types, the creative animals, you call them, which are the essence and the beef in going not the usual ways, but to use a new approach. And helping this and having a 3-year vision, I think that's a cool way to go for. What I was looking for is the idea, does everybody in our audience on the spot know what sales operations is? Could you help us a bit what's more dedicatedly in the role? We have a vague idea what salespeople are doing. They sell, they consult, and they advise to a certain degree. And marketing is magic, colorful presentations, nice leaflets. But what else?
Right. Yeah. So of course, you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different definitions. In my world, and I was in that role as the sales operations expert. It was basically the whole series of activities, and with activities I mean processes and systems, and that is critical. Processes and systems that in the end enable the sale. That to me is sales operations. I mean, in order to sell a product, it takes more than pick up the phone, offer your product, agree a price, and sell it. No, there is way more that goes before. There is way more that's going on in between, and way more that happens after. This whole set of activities supported by systems, by software, to me is what sales operations is about.
How did you operationalize that? I mean, you have... Well, I know that you implemented a Salesforce automation system.
Mm-hmm. Surprise!
Surprise. There's, knowing that system, I also know that's not that strong on the marketing side. I do know that you can get a hell of a lot of good data out of it for analytics and control. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in English, the word is control purposes. Mm-hmm. So, but how does that help in, or what do I miss in terms of helping in connecting sales and marketing?
Yeah, well, I think, so to come back to your question, yes, we implemented this, I think you call it Salesforce automation system. Before we go there, the system implementation, we really looked deeply at our processes. Mm-hmm. And I think that is also key in connecting sales and marketing. I mean, I was in another meeting the other day where it says, hey, don't digitalize the chaos. Because, I mean, just putting in systems on chaotic processes, you're actually digitalizing the chaos. Don't do that. Yeah. So what we did, we actually looked at our processes first, regardless of any systems. And the key point was we looked at the big sales picture, the big sales process, starting from the very marketing activities over what we call the sales processes, which is typically leads and opportunity management, which would include the quotation, and then going over to order intake. And that's really what we define as our overall sales process. And then what we did was we identified the key building blocks of all these different processes and how they interact with each other. And I think that is the key. The actual implementation of the CRM system, it helped with enabling the integration between marketing and sales, but building the foundation for that actually happens by looking at these processes first. Let me give you an example. I said earlier that marketing is a very distinct activity from sales. Again, market intelligence. At EagleBurgmann, we consider that a marketing activity. Sales has a very bottom-up approach to market intelligence, which is very important. They are on the field, they learn and they bring in, but you also need this top-down approach where you can really look, okay, in this specific industry, who are the players, what products are needed, who are the competitors. That is a typical activity that marketing does. If you don't know how that specific activity of market intelligence feeds into the different sales processes, you can put up the most fantastic CRM or Salesforce automation process or system software in the world. If you don't know how the processes interact and feed each other, you won't be anywhere. So to answer your question, Thomas, yes, we implemented the CRM system or a Salesforce automation system, but that was just a automation of the processes that we had defined before. And it is truly these processes and that definition that ensures the interaction between marketing and sales.
Yeah, they went quite a lot of work into that as well, as far as I remember.
Absolutely.
By the way, you just, in case you're interested in a marketing solution, you just got an offer. Thanks to Natalie. I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question, as I partly know the answer, right? But what have been the main process challenges that you wanted to overcome, and that you did overcome, actually?
With this whole project that we did?
Yeah, when that whole project was more that the part that I know.
Yeah.
You know, so.
No, of course. Our whole goal was actually to come to one standardized sales process for EagleBurgmann. Like if you look at our customers, it should not matter to our customers whether you place an order in Belgium, in Azerbaijan, in Saudi Arabia, or in the United States. We want that customer to have the exact same customer experience with EagleBurgmann. And going back in history, EagleBurgmann, we were a combination of little kingdoms, all different countries with all different processes, and duplicating efforts all over the place, different approaches all over. Our product sold itself to date. We have the very best product. It sells, and in the past it sold itself. Well, those times are over. Competition is there. The eastern part of the world is stepping up their capabilities. We really needed to invest in sales processes and consistent processes with our customer. And so that was really the main reason. Let's standardize our processes. Let's come to one EagleBurgmann process, way of doing sales processes, and enable that in systems. And I will say, by no means are we perfect today. By no means are we where we should be as our North Star target, but we have made major progress in that exact effort.
That is impressive, and that's the way one has to walk. Thomas,
how did you identify where the pain was?
Well, by doing these workshops. So it's just like you do with any project. You meet with your key stakeholders, which in this case I will say was very internal oriented. Our next step will also look a little bit more external. But okay, there was so much work to be done that we first we met with the key stakeholders internally. We also had some help with some consultants who advised us on best practices. That's how we developed our processes, with a particular interest of deep integration between marketing and sales. That's ultimately what our processes became by doing these workshops and identifying these pain points. We have a couple of KPIs that we defined in function thereof. So we clearly defined what we wanted to be our success with this project. So we immediately knew what to measure. We are measuring that now, and we are actually seeing some major successes.
Could you elaborate a bit on these successes, such as if you are a normal company, you have had some shitty processes, and getting people together and talking in an honest attitude, such as we have it in our own hands to make it better. And now we get the money and we have the management attention. Now let's rock it.
Yeah,
it's a good start. And having that spirit in a workshop creates an atmosphere and a spirit which is nearly unbeatable.
Right.
And with that power, you can go for the processes which were a pain in the neck.
Absolutely. And that was by no means easy. I mean, as much as it might sound easy in this 1 hour conversation, again, sales folks are a special breed. They're a wonderful breed. They're very proud of what they do, and they're fantastic folks. But changing processes for people with such DNA is not easy. So some of our locations, some of our country jumped on this opportunity because they really felt the need for more organization and a little bit help from systems. Other organizations didn't see the need at all. They had been doing these processes for the past 50 years very successfully. Why would I have to adapt? So there, the key was also to identify a couple of areas of success, really build these smaller areas of success, show that these processes and this software supported processes are really successful, and even in these successful subsidiaries, still improving them beyond what they were doing today, and then replicating these successes internally to these other countries. And I will say we are a German company. Our largest subsidiary is Germany, no surprise, and they were also the most critical at first. But just in 2000, and per definition, exactly. But in 2021, they were the ones saying, and that was fantastic. They said, "Look, we are now at a point where we really see the value of the solution that we've gotten, and it is really helping sales. And although that is not a quantitative metric, it is worth more than 10 quantitative metrics."
Yeah.
And that emotion, such as that your most critical chaps are stepping forward and say, guys, it paid off. It paid off due to what happened in the pandemic situation. We were prepared to a certain degree. We could, with the capability of this special breed, sales, which are communicative giants to a certain extent, and they know their customer in these industries quite deeply, such as I mentioned, that they are not only sales people, but they do have an understanding for the customer's processes and for the customer's technology needs. So they are in a technical sales. They are not selling soap, or a detergent, or some cornflakes. It's a technical product, and they are knowledgeable. And so helping them to achieve under the circumstances we do have now for nearly 2 years, and being prepared to enable them, such as what we found out in some analysis during these days, that people were very fast equipped with technical equipment. From zero to now, everybody had to have Teams, everybody had to have some other products, had to have some hardware, had to have a home office fully established in a way that you can go on doing your consultancy and your sales work. Now, starting from that point, that emotional statement, it was the right thing, and it shows now that it's going on. What type of KPIs, for instance, for us and the audience to share, did you find out which you would like to measure and what you have achieved to measure?
Yeah. So I'll focus now really on the sales operations KPIs. Right? Not so much on
main topic,
on the marketing ones, but our main goal were the standard customer relationship management KPIs. Funnel size. We wanted to make sure in the end, for the people that don't know, funnel, your opportunity funnel, your future order intake forecast. We wanted to know at any moment in time what was our funnel size, because once you know what your funnel size is, you have somewhat of an expectation. Okay, what will be you can look in the future. Second to that, win rate. Win rate is very, very important. Knowing, okay, once I have so much in my funnel, what is my expectation that will convert to orders? A very important KPI.
Yeah, very results-driven salespeople.
Exactly. And they sound very basic, but they are super important. Having this conversation with my sales folks last week, it's when you drink a glass of water, what if you're very thirsty, what will determine how quickly your thirst will be gone? Well, obviously, how large is your water glass? The larger it is, the more water you can drink, and the diameter of your straw that goes in there. There you go. And that is really what your funnel size and your win rate is. Your funnel size is your glass of water. Your win rate is the diameter of your straw. And the bigger your glass, the bigger the straw, the more you can drink. And that is the essence of customer relationship management and funnel opportunity funnel management. So
a very vivid picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's very important that they never forget to suck at their straw intensively, so that they get the most, no matter how large the diameter is, but that they get something into their mouths so they do not dehydrate, such as that there are closing rates. And now we come to the fantastic part where the skill of the salespeople is an important matter. You enable them with tools. You gave them something to watch for and go for. But how did you onboard also in giving them not only a training on the product, but probably also you can make the most out of it if you use, for instance, a new sales methodology? Have you had an exercise like this as well?
No, it's interesting that you bring that up, because you are actually spot on. This to us was the number one challenge, talking about closing rates. Because I mean, we can implement the best process, we can implement the best system. If people don't use it, and as a result, you have very low closing rates, you haven't won anything. So that was at first a little bit of a challenge. That's where change management comes in. That is really changing people to consider your CRM processes a culture and not just a task from higher up that they need to achieve. And again, I can talk another 5 hours just about that. But so how did we achieve that? It was a very delicate balance, because if you over push your salespeople to use the CRM system, they get the impression, oh, this is a reporting tool and it's only used for reporting. But if you don't push them enough, they don't use it. So you have that balance that you need to run. And what we did was a couple of techniques. So yes, we use it as a reporting system, not so much like for financial or remuneration reporting, but just reporting, how are you guys doing in terms of your CRM behavior? So very consistently on a monthly basis, we issue a rather sexy set of KPIs. I mean, they're boring KPIs, but we try to present it in a nice way where they can see how they are doing month over month. And we do this very diligently, very disciplinedly, once a month, so they can see how are we doing, number one. Number two, I am constantly working, and I will say we get really a lot of support from our top management, from our board of management, really stressing, and that's it, really stressing the need and why we need to do so. So that is the second mechanism other than the KPIs, is really making sure that there is top management support for it. And then third, we did a little bit of gamification as well. EagleBurgmann is a whole set of subsidiaries, different countries. And as part of our KPIs, we have like this blended KPI, which doesn't really mean anything. It's just a blend of the mathematical numbers of the KPIs that we blend together, and every country gets a score. So we kind of put the countries not against each other, but like in a game. Hey, how is which country doing what? And that creates a little bit of, hey, me, Belgium, why am I so low? Next month I want to be higher. So a little bit of that as well. But the key, I would say, other than these three things, is making sure that the CRM process are not a zero-sum game for sales. If sales has to do it and there is no added value for them, well, why would they do it? And so that is what we're constantly looking for, is making sure that it becomes a desire for sales to do it, because it gives them added value in achieving their personal goals. And so we have built into our processes a couple of really added value steps, which are important for our business to business context, where they can track information, which otherwise they would have to track in 15 other different systems. No, you can do it in your CRM system. And if you do it there, it will have direct impact later on your ability to close the order. So making sure that it is not a zero-sum game for sales, I would say, is the number one criteria with which we try to use to get that adoption of the solution, and by which today we get closing rates, I would say, looking at the latest KPIs, 85 consistently 85% and higher. And if you look at our utilization of around 500 users, we have consistently 90+% utilization of our CRM solution, which I think is fantastic.
Wow, yeah, the average is around 50. So that's,
it is really cool.
That
You
is
should put out some case studies about that, because I would love to read it.
And again, by no means saying that we are perfect and there's still a long road ahead, but based where we are now, we started the conversation that I was enthusiastic and excited about the year. Well, you can understand why. I think we are already in a good spot. By no means where we want to be, but we'll elevate from here.
Yeah, but if you're saying no means where you are most certainly the one-eyed guy in the crowd of blind ones. With that success, so that's quite amazing.
That's impressive. That is honestly impressive.
Circling back a little, so the you rightly said, so the funnel size, so the top size of the funnel and the closing rate are the two most important, or two of the most important KPIs. Why is it so bloody hard to measure them? I mean, they sound simple, right?
Right. Well, it depends. I mean, the actual measurement is just actually quite simple. That comes out of the box in our CRM system. It's a mathematical formula. The difficulty is getting the data to measure it and making sure. And that's where the processes come in, where when sales, but also marketing, when they do their leads management, when they identify new opportunities, new leads, the immediate reaction should be, put it in the system. Your CRM system is nothing else than your to-do list. And rather than have a to-do list on paper or in Excel or wherever, no, your to-do list becomes your system. And as soon as the data is in there, the actual measurement, as long as you have for your own company defined what it should be, what the definition is of these things, it is very easy to measure. The challenge is getting the data in there and having people follow the process. And that's where really it needs to become a culture. And we are not there yet. We are still too KPI driven. I would say people do it because they know they are measured, and we are making progress. People need to be wanting to do it because they know it helps them. And that's where we really need to evolve.
What is the other thing that then would make people aware that the system is a helper and not a mechanism for you to keep tabs on them?
Well,
commission.
That is not something that I can tell people. That is something that they need to figure out. Like my role then in the organization is to really work with sales, interact with sales, to just like an external customer, that we can understand what drives them and what they need, what our internal customer pain, our internal customer need is, and implementing that in the system so that they can be helped by just doing their daily work. That is what we need to figure out. And that is unique for every company, for every salesperson.
So now apparently you, with the 90% usage rate, so adoption rate, which is phenomenal, it looks like you did 2 or 3 things right, not only 1 or 2. So what do you think have been the most urgent pain points of the people you helped? I mean, you solved some of them, apparently.
Yeah. I honestly think, as basic as it sounds, the ability to track your sales to-do list in a consistent manner, in a consistent place, just that. Okay. In the past, people had notebooks, had Excel, and then reporting came up at month end because they needed to report, hey, what is my pipeline? Now, by just typing it in your system, bloop, at the end of the month, everything comes right then and there available. So I think that would be a big one. And then number 2, but this is again very industry specific, very company specific. We are in the B2B, business to business. where the sales cycle typically is way longer than in business to consumer,
Right.
and where also way more than just price matters. There is way more that plays. And so our CRM system allows to enter specific data that is needed to really close the deal in these long sales cycles. And what really matters in our industry is personal relationships. Believe it or not, personal relationships are more important than price very often in these deals. Yeah. And it takes time. It takes time to cultivate that. It takes time to maintain, to document that. And if you can prove to the customer that you are truly interested in the customer, in whatever role that customer plays, is he a technical buyer, is he a financial buyer, is he the purchaser, if you can really document all that as part of your process, that is also something that sales has really appreciated. And that is something we do in our CRM system, which is unique for EagleBurgmann, which is unique for every company, but we customize the system in such a way that it really allows these little nuances that help sales.
It is, to my understanding, that you listened carefully and gave them a lot of what is in for me. You did it in an appropriate benefit selling, also benefit delivery by this utilization rate to the salespeople which had a pain. And if you organize it in an optical way that you can, like in a Kanban board, move it easy from step to step, and that the ratio of manually keying in data is not overwhelming high, but then they can focus on, for instance, speech to text after they have visited their customer and given the notes, that they have something like the theoretical buying center adopted to the EagleBurgmann needs, and they have a picture up front where they can see together with marketing and with service people whom to address and what their job roles are, such as the sales can be in the part of their job to be done, and they understand in a benefit thinking what's the job of their customers in their roles to be done, and where they can help most. Now, drilling down to what can we deliver to make him successful.
Absolutely. And we had already standardized at EagleBurgmann on certain sales philosophies. I mean, there's I don't need to tell you guys. There's
methodology question. Yeah,
exactly. There's many sales methodologies out there. We chose one particular one at EagleBurgmann, and we took the best of that approach and in some way baked it into our CRM system. So now you not only have a best practice EagleBurgmann fitting process, but you also have a process that takes into account best practices from a sales methodology point of view.
Yeah. So, which have you chosen?
Miller Heiman.
And this is winning complex sales called in some parts of the world, and you can design out of that approach easily, and because there are add-ons available, if it's not in the core system, that you can get it visualized also, and that it is for them more fun and a gamification part to fill in the little gaps and to get the puzzle together.
Absolutely.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And then I would say the other thing that is really important, and we didn't do that, that was only changed this year. I think the other key to success is really having an integrated sales process beginning till the end. And you cannot boil the ocean. Rome was not built in one day. So we went live with just opportunity management. The problem was when then a quote resulted, you had to type everything over again in the ERP system for the quote. So none of that was ideal. It was kind of a chopped up process. This year, we now started with linking the opportunity, so the lead to the opportunity, to the quote, to the order. So you get now the seamless integrated flow. And from feedback and obvious that I receive, is that this is also a major game changer, that the initial to-do list that they enter, so to speak, I have a very rough early opportunity, and being able to track that all the way down to the invoice, to the customer, that is also the beauty. And again, that's where these systems come in place.
And this how about
tracking that sale through other parts of the company. I mean, obviously, we're talking about sales operations. So what's happening from, quote to cash or from first contact to sale is important. But to what extent have you integrated with, say, your contact center so that the information on what's going on with the customer is getting back to the salespeople after the sale?
Yeah, so that is an excellent question. So that is one area where we have not implemented any solutions yet. So that is currently still islands. That is a big focus point now in 2022, is really that customer journey today. Sadly enough, at EagleBurgmann, and we try to mitigate that with just relationships, but we don't have a real standardized approach, not even standardized, just a consistent approach to the customer journey after the product has left our building, which is not good. And so that is something that we will now focus on in 2022. At the moment, we don't have really a good and consistent system for that.
Well, you're hardly alone in that. So don't feel too bad.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, not good, but good. Yeah.
You made a very important remark earlier, that you see that you have still the room of opportunity to get some external view into the perspective to drive the system forward. Now you have the cool utilization rate, and it's easier to convince sales and marketing that they can have more beef on their table if they like, or more vegetables, what either they prefer, and just to catch up with what the customer thinks he is getting, such as feedbacks, some easy done surveys, or if you have a focus group on getting some product improvements, such as out of the service and maintenance reports, and you get people together in a club or in a circularized environment. What you think about, what are your plans in that direction? Not to tell that customer life cycle is one interesting aspect.
Yeah. Well, basically, if given the means, all of it. So we just, I'm rather enthusiastic, but
Super.
So we have our backbone. That's really what it is. Yeah. We implemented a backbone now. And the beautiful thing is that also because of the platform that we chose, SAP, it has many tentacles and integrated processes and integrated systems. And this, we are just scratching the surface in what we want to do now. So
the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly, the tip of the iceberg. Last year, we did some intense marketing campaigns through our CRM solution. Although it's not made for it, it has some basic marketing functionality. So their marketing came in and they're doing marketing campaigns. We want now, our next step is to also get service, our repair business on the platform. It will all be integrated. The key point being, ultimately, we want 360-degree visibility for our salespeople. And that doesn't mean that sales will do everything in CRM, not by any means. We will have other systems where certain transactions will be done, but ultimately the end result should end up in, you mentioned surveys, the end result should end up in the CRM system for that 360-degree visibility by sales, so that when they go for a next sales meeting and they sit in the train or wherever and they flip open their iPhone and they go to their CRM app, they can see everything from lead to opportunity to quote to order, from survey, from marketing campaign to invoices to delivery statuses, all in this one app, ready to meet the customer. And that is the goal.
That's cool. And that's a clear vision, such as you see for your area, for your customers where you are. Mm-hmm. And to have this handy in a smartphone is a burning edge value, which is out of that history talk, mobile first, an important benefit. You can touch, you can feel. Now, how is, in your perspective, the customer life cycle, and there are the words customer life cycle management, But more important in the B2B arena is the contract lifecycle management. And to get the early warning signals seen, heard, and being appreciated and attended to, and take some action. Where do you see there some opportunities for your company and for your teams?
Well, big time opportunities. When you say contract lifecycle, whether that contract is now frame contract or even a sales order is also a contract. As I mentioned already before, in the B2B world, it's very different than B2C.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding and being accountable for your customer pains and customer needs. And so to me, that is like contract management is a little bit less system-oriented discussion, in my personal opinion. You can have the Ferrari system in the world. If you do not understand your customer need and you don't have the processes in place to really understand what keeps your customer awake at night, you will not be able to retain your customer. And so that is what we will also with the team now focus on in 2022, a little bit less IT oriented, but really focused on the processes to identify and make our whole company accountable for these customer pains. And then the implementation of a true customer journey where we will offer unique experiences to the customer in all these different steps of the customer journey so that we can satisfy these customer pains and need. And the whole topic of contract management and customer retention and customer lifecycle management will be a happy result of all that. It will not be a goal on itself.
Yes, bravo.
Now you used a bunch of fascinating words. One is journey orchestration, and customer experience. In how far did the customer or the experience that your customers receive or may have, should have, change from before the implementation?
So I would say the implementation we did so far did not necessarily change that. It was, as I mentioned before, it was a very internal oriented implementation, really more focused on internal efficiencies. I don't think it changed a lot the external experience, other than the fact that when they now call, no matter what country, they have a feeling that they talk to one EagleBurgmann. No matter what order confirmation form they get, it looks equal and it's not a country-specific form. So it's a little bit in the little things that they might have changed it. We have not really addressed the customer journey with our CRM implementation. And so that is a true strategic objective now for 2022, where, to be honest, we have not even defined what a customer journey should be at EagleBurgmann. So we will start with that definition. And again, I don't think that's really a system project. I think it's more, what do we want the customer journey to be? How should the processes there look like? And then maybe later on we can see if there will be any system impact. But today I would say the implementation was more internal efficiency oriented. And this year we will start working on the processes more outward looking, which is then associated with the customer journey.
How about, sorry, Marshall, but how about turnaround times?
Which one, sorry?
Turnaround times, so the times from, well, customer asks, or RFP to RFP replied to order submitted?
I think, although that was never a direct objective, and I just want to be as honest as I can, so quickly reflecting, I think that might have improved a little bit. But if you look at our business, like a heavy engineering business, there are so many steps before the quotation can go out that have nothing to do with like the commercial quotation or the sales activities. It's really heavy engineering activities that we might have reduced a little bit of time there, but that was not really on the critical path. The critical path was always really more our engineering work, and that was not really affected. So I think as far as delivery times and turnaround times to our customer, there is actually other factors that influence that, less than sales operations, I would say. Let me give you an example: modularization. If we are able to modularize our products rather than engineer everything from scratch, that is what really make a difference there. At a factor 10 higher than the improvements we might make with sales operations. So sales operations was really, when it came to customer retention, was really about internal efficiencies. But I think it's other factors that would influence turnaround times. That would be my opinion at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
sorry, Thomas.
Marshall, now you.
Yay, I get to talk.
Yay.
That brings me back to something you said at the top of the show, how when you were working more in the IT part of business, you were told that you could really only influence cost as opposed to influencing growth or profit. Having seen what you've seen and done what you've done, how would you respond to that now? Can you make an effort to improve profit or growth or just efficiency through the IT portion of the business without just cutting cost?
Yeah. So I think the big, I mean, it's not that I didn't know that, but the confirmation is really that it's all about the words direct versus indirect. It is clear that IT influences order intake and influences operating result, profit. However, it doesn't happen in a direct way. It's in an indirect way by enabling all these different processes. I mean, we would not be where we are if it was not for the IT systems that were implemented, and those were implemented with my group, but as much with the IT group. So this being said, by just being an IT person and not having a strong sales team that is really driving that growth, there would also there wouldn't be any growth either. So the statement that you only manage cost in IT likely is incorrect. You indirectly influence sales and profit as well. For some people that is sufficient. For me, that was not. I really wanted to be on the direct side of influencing it and using IT as an enabler of all that. And that's why I really enjoy what I do now. And I truly do, because we can think sky's the limit, be creative, what would help the company. And then, of course, IT has their budgets, has their capacity limitations, which is fully understood. So within the means possible, we need to figure out then, okay, here's my dreams, here's what IT can help us with, and how do we marry to then together, IT and business, unlock that revenue and that profit for the company. So yeah, a little bit revise that position, but I think the key words is direct versus indirect.
Well said. I agree with you, absolutely.
I'm happy to hear that you see the IT as the enablers and helping hands and a service organization to make marketing and sales move forward more easy, more smoothly, and with more success options as they would have if they are with cuffed hands running around. Yeah,
absolutely.
And this is also the factor that you show in what you describe, that you do not cuff your people in sales or marketing, but you open their minds successfully through that benefit selling in the internal perspective. They have learned that they have their benefits. The question, what's in for me, is answered in a positive way, and you get a payback and a feedback through the utilization. This is vote by feet. Yeah. This is fantastic. And I can't get enough of just pointing out how overwhelming positive that is, because this is the foundation for the next steps. And you made something very smart, Thomas. You didn't put too much on the plate. You just put on the plate what you can chew and digest and value and appreciate. That's marvelous. And I had the impression, just to quote the minute manager, the 1 minute manager, you catch them when they were good. Yeah.
Yep.
About a bit about sales ops again. It's one KPI, of course, is the conversion rate. The other thing is a bit about the profitability. So how do you manage to drive that up with process and or system?
And when you talk conversion rate, everybody has a different definition. Conversion between, are you talking leads to opportunities, or you?
Well, from opportunity, well, you have an opportunity coming in, and that becomes a sales order. This is one thing. Now you have basically two possibilities: get rock bottom with the price, or come a bit more from the value point of view, which naturally concerns a very price-sensitive person, which needs other arguments. Then, how do you support that?
Yeah.
Process and system-wise.
Absolutely. So from this conversion rate, as you call it, I'm very happy to see we just pulled the last 2 years data in our CRM system, and we have really seen a almost 10% growth year over year, 2 years in a row in this conversion rate, which is really nice. And again, it's proof that people really are going the extra mile, our salespeople, to close their deals. So we are not yet at where we want to be, but we see progress, and that is excellent. So that to answer that question, as part of our quotations, we do submit, we actually have a rather advanced pricing methodology at EagleBurgmann that was also put in place 2 years ago, where as part of the quotation, we provide a recommended selling price to our salespeople with some very strong inline analytics, so that people can see what is behind that price, what was the logic, show me some peer pricing, show me some pricing for similar articles in different industries and things like that. So we provide them a lot of data points that they can properly frame this recommended selling price, but ultimately sales remains in charge of their selling price. That is one thing. And that seems to be working well. And we are currently actually converting the organization from a more cost-plus based pricing model to a value-based model, where we will then also present to sales for every quotation the different value parameters of their offering, which then also enables the sales guys to have that conversation with their customer. And that is really key. So we want to make sure that we value sell to our customer, not just a price discussion, which really limits you in what you can do. We have no specific system yet in place to provide that intel to sales. So that is still an area where we need to improve. But that would be to make sure that the conversation does not turn into a price discussion. We want to change the perspective to value, and that is what we are in the midst of right now.
Have you been able to already run some stats on in how far the recommended sales price did help?
Absolutely. So we have certain measurements. I mean, I will not now go too much in the details.
No. Well, we won't divulge company secrets here.
Right, exactly. So we have KPIs that we track, and all that I will tell you is that we have actually in the past, so we implemented that 3 years ago, I think. And every year since, we have actually outperformed the KPIs that we wanted to measure. But there are other KPIs, for instance, where we measure informational, again, to the level of the individual sales rep to see how much the recommended selling price was achieved, was overachieved, or was underachieved. We have monthly councils in place with our sales guys where we review that, and then we ask questions. Look, why did it not work here? Why did it work there? So without going too much in the details, I can confirm that was a very successful project, that we have achieved our goals internally, but I would say also externally. Of course, you have some customers that don't like price evolutions, but the big majority understands. I mean, every customer, every company is doing adjustments to pricing.
So
it sounds like you're it sounds like you're not wondering what to do, just trying to figure out how to do it, which is a good place to be in.
I agree. Especially in this area of sales operations and pricing and marketing, the sky is the limit in terms of what you can do. Of course, nobody can do the sky. So we need to figure out, we need to prioritize, we need to figure out what makes it closer. And there is no shortage of initiatives at EagleBurgmann.
So now that we are coming to the top of the hour, one thing that personally interests me is, as you are a VP of sales and marketing, there's this marketing buzzword, revenue operations.
Yes.
What do you think about
personally? I do not use it as a word. I certainly use it every day as a practice. Because if you look what revenue operations is, again, 10 people, 10 different definitions. My gathering is that it is the whole collection of activities to maximize revenue in the company, between marketing, sales, customer service, operations. Every company should be doing that. We are doing it, but we don't have a separate discipline that is called revenue operations because it is so foundational. So I'm likely the wrong person to talk about revenue operations because I don't use it. It is a daily practice at our company, and I'm sure at every other company. It's just we call it differently, I guess.
Right.
Okay. Some new term for new old wine in a new bottle. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is at least in my opinion. Yes.
Not new wine in an old bottle, but
yeah.
Okay, so we are on top of the hour. I know it's best of all work times for you. Well, actually, you're on 16-hour schedule, right, with the distribution. Thanks a lot for your time. Really, thanks a lot for your time. So there was quite some good audience in here as well. So the whole time.
Yeah.
Thanks to the audience as well.
Thank you, audience.
And
come back.
See you next week. We are going backstage now. Backstage means don't you hit the go away button, please.
You can stay.
Yeah,
but
you
the
can
audience